Do you guys think we should start calling them sloppy okay, maybe not. I already can't say it. Sloppy Saturdays. I feel like that sounds a little bit too sexual. I'm referring to our low to mid-level 1v1 cast that we have on Saturdays. Oh, this is going to be one of them. We got Arthur Cloud rocking the Lictor Alpha today. Going to be facing up against Loveduet. I like the name, Loveduet. Don't know the player. Don't necessarily love the player. Don't know him. Never actually seen him play before. Don't know anything about him. He's going to be playing the Watt Spider Exarch though, and honestly, on Fedrid Folly, that is a rough matchup for the Lictor Alpha. Hopping over this area here with your teleports is a nightmare, particularly because there's garrisons on this side, so you really can't deal with the Watt Spider when he's down here. He just pops in the garrison from the Hormagaunts. Oh, nightmare. But the Lictor Alpha is going to try his best initially to put on a little bit of pressure. He uses the Flesh Hook, kills the Guardian. There you go. Hey, XP for the Lictor. Awesome. Did your job, Lictor. And that is about as effective as the Lictor can really be. So, yeah. Good stuff. I guess if he went on the left-hand side, he could deal with the Guardians, but Loveduet's actually escorting his Guardians with the Banshees, which is not a bad idea. Well, it would not be a bad idea if you hadn't already forced off the Lictor Alpha. But he just did, so probably doesn't need to do that anymore. Maybe now he's seen the Hormagaunts as well. So he knows that the only other threats remaining are most likely Termagants, unless the opponent's going for a triple Hormagaunt build or something like that, or a double Horma, double Terma build. Which would be rare. And Arthur isn't, he's going very meta. Going for his double Termas into his warriors. So we'll see how this plays out. Banshees get a fantastic engagement here on the Termagants. They actually, just as the burst of the Termagants fired, the Banshees were next to all this green cover, so they took basically no damage. Straight into melee with the Termagants, and that is goodbye Termagants. We don't want to see you anymore. Wow. Early upgrade to the heavy gauge Death Spinner. Now, I love this wargear. It is quite literally a 50% range DPS increase on the Watt Spider Exarch. And it also gives him ability where you activate it for energy and his shooting will stun whichever models it is firing at. So you can use it to focus fire the Lictor Alpha once he gets in melee. It stuns the Lictor Alpha, and then you can kick the shit out of him with the Banshees when you can't even retaliate. He dies very, very quickly. Great little tool against the Lictor Alpha. And Arthur is investing in his Lictor Alpha. He's got the Toxin Miasma now. Definitely will make that Lictor very scary against the Banshees, were that stun not in play, but the stun should be able to counter it quite effectively. So let's see how this goes. Going to Flesh Hook one of the Banshees, does a lot of damage, stops their DPS, follows up with an instant special, quite lucky from Arthur's behalf. Special kills the Flesh Hooked Banshee, and yeah, soundly defeats those ladies. A little bit lucky with the instant special, but nonetheless, it's just a bad engagement for the Banshees. They need the Watt Spider there with that stun support if they want it to go well for him. So you can see now with that wargear, look how fast he melts the default Termagants. And these guys, they don't have their Toxin Sacks yet to get the extra HP, and he just rips them to pieces. It's pretty brutal. It's a lot of bleed in tier 1 when you don't have your Endless Swarm 2-for-1 reinforcement. Really got to keep the melee on this guy. Oh, he's got the improved targeters as well. Wow, so he's doing... So he gets the 34 DPS on that, which is an 11 DPS increase, and then he compounds that with an extra 50% increase. So this guy is doing, like, well, over 50 DPS piercing right now, which is pretty mental. There's not really any ranged weapons that do that much. I mean, you're looking at Terminator Force Commander Assault Cannon level of DPS. So yeah, that melts the Termagants. However, that is a pretty massive investment in power into the Watt Spider Exarch, and that is why we don't see any shurikens right now. We do have all the upgrades on the basic troops. Yeah, the poor Hormagaunts are going to get melted. Nice nade spike there on the warriors just as they leap in. Even manages to kill one of the warriors. That will pay for the triple Guardians that bled. Oh, this Banshee loss is not good. Yep, 2 Banshees down. How many Hormagaunts went down in the end? 5 of them. God. They die so quick. maybe a wipe on the Guardians there. Ooh, sloppy micro from Loveduet. Didn't retreat quite quick enough and the Warriors knocked them over. Might have had a little bit of the knockback bug there where if your unit gets knocked over, they can't retreat instantly until they actually stand up. And that's a problem because they were taking loads of damage there from the double termagants, which are now upgraded. So that upgrade, I believe it increases damage as well as HP. Yeah, 10% HP, 30% range damage, 30% increased damage is kind of mad. And grants the crippling poison ability. I'm pretty sure that ability in retail gave you even more than 30% extra range damage, but the base damage of Termagants was even lower. Can you imagine base Termagants being even weaker? So they were basically useless without that upgrade, and the upgrade was mandatory. So Elite Mod normalized it a little bit, lowered the damage bonus you get from it, but still 30% is crazy good. And increased the basic damage of the non-upgraded Termagants a bit to compensate. So honestly, so far so good for Arthur. He's now got Raveners on the field, he's really putting out a lot of bleed, he's killed one of the upgraded Guardians, and he's got a nice map control situation going on right now. I mean, Loveduet only has 1 point on the field. Banshee's trying to engage there, but just going to get ripped to pieces by the level of piercing DPS that's on the field. Raveners get the burrow, disrupt these Guardians, and then force melee. They're going to kill loads of these guys as well. These guys might wipe. Yeah. What didn't retreat? Oh, the Guardians. That might have been the knockback again. Or he might have pressed the wrong button. You know, apart from the knockback bug, I don't really have many instances of units not retreating in this game. Yeah, I'm forever seeing people say, oh, my unit didn't retreat. Oh, really? That's probably because you didn't press the hotkey, you thought you did. Or you thought you selected them with your mouse, but you just completely missed. Anyway, Rangers are out of the field now. I guess Rangers are a kind of necessary choice because, you know, they detect the Lictor. I was saying to Arthur the other day, I actually, if I'm playing as the Spider Exarch, I wouldn't go as far as to get the Targeters super early, but I would get the Heavy Gauge Death Spinner early. I'd go for Shuriken first on a 1 Guardian, 1 Banshee build, and then I'd get the Spinner. And I wouldn't worry about the Lictor too much, because as soon as the Lictor engaged my Shuriken, I would teleport my Spider over, stun him, and then just kill him with the Banshees. And the Shuriken controls these 4 units that come out from the Tyranid roster early on much better than anything that Rangers can do. Of course, once the Raveners come out, you need some extra troops, but the Rangers are nice at poking down the Raveners. Really though, you just want to get to tier 2 because the options that you have as Eldar in tier 1 against this shit is really not great. You want to get Warp Spiders out. Wraithguard are even a consideration that you can get, and of course the Eldar vehicles are both of them. Falcon or the Wraithlord, really good against Tyranids. But it's going to be a full bash, and wow, Arthur is in quite a dominating position right now, but he's been so focused on putting the pressure on, getting the map control, etc., that he floated massively. He could have been going tier 2 a long time ago. Probably would be tier 2 already, joining Loveduet, and would be able to keep the pressure on. And that's not going to happen right now. I also find this very questionable. Why is he dropping 2 gens over here? The tier 2 for Tyranids is not very power intensive, so it doesn't really make much sense to drop these 2 gens. You actually need the requisition quite a lot in tier 2 as Tyranids. You know, he could get some Gene Stealers, they'd be great with Adrenal Gland Warriors. And then you probably want some Venom Brood as well, to deal with any vehicles. Or to buff up all 3 of these range units too. So they're all very rec intensive purchases, not very power intensive. I would have saved the 200 requisition. Anyway, we'll see how it plays out. We're going to have Warp Spiders coming out from Loveduet. Oh, and another thing. You know that Eldar are going to be relying on things like Warp Spiders and this annoying Warp Spider Exarch, so get a load of towers up and get Rippers. Guess what? Rippers cost 0 power. But they cost requisition. So again, you need the power. Just need wreck. Watch these Homogons die. Yeah. Yeah, have fun with that. He needs to get Venom Brood up and get range synapse. Even the Raveners, you can see they start melting. And losing Ravener models is something you really, really, really do not want. Adrenal Gland Warriors would be nice too. Oh, okay. He gets the leap though on the What Spider Exact to prevent him from being able to teleport away and actually wipes him. Which is sloppy from Loveduet's perspective. He should have teleported out a lot sooner. Way before the Warriors could get close enough to be able to leap on him. Crippling Poison? Yeah, Crippling Poison and Leap. That should be enough to deal with these Banshees. They do have the Exact coming in, but it's a little bit too late. They kind of needed her beforehand so that they could get the range resistance whilst fleeting in. I don't like this push from Arthur. I don't know what he's doing, to be honest. There's no gens here to bash. Literally just a node, and he's bleeding like crazy at this point. And he doesn't have all the map. There's 2 requisitions here, and there's a VP to deal with. Lictor could be going capping this. I think there's a great lot to be gained here. What Spiders were fighting a bit of an awkward engagement there for some reason. They were shooting at the Termagants whilst out of cover. What Spiders never should be taking ranged fights without the cover advantage. They can teleport. Why are you taking a ranged firefight with a cover disadvantage? Here we go, we got... I think that's the first tower that's come up now. I'd like to start seeing some Rippers coming out and start Tyranniform in this world. Got a Tyrant Guard on the way as well. That's going to be... well, it'll be okay for Loveduet to deal with. I mean, he's got the super heavy... That's a very awkward thing to say. I was going to say the super heavy amount of power melee DPS. That just sounds confusing. He's got the very large amount of power melee DPS that he gets from Aspect of Fleetness here. So he forgoes the heavy melee spear on the Exact, but he gets these power melee mirror swords. So he will shred through the Tyrant Guard whilst it's out shield wall. But when it does go into shield wall and it gets that vehicle armor, he's going to have trouble. That's what Fire Dragons are for, right? And honestly, oh wow, look at that. Stunned the Lictor with the heavy gauge death filament. Yeah, the heavy gauge filament. I don't think Arthur was really expecting that because he didn't react. He should have retreated instantly. But the Lictor just got wrecked. He's probably like trying to flesh hook or something and being like, why can't I flesh hook? Yeah, you're stunned. Little Tyrannid range blob there, doing nice. Kills the What Spider instantly. And yeah, upon seeing the Tyrant Guard, we're going to see Fire Dragons. Fire Dragons are the ultimate Tyrant Guard counter. They do melter damage, so when he's in walking around form, super heavy infantry, they get a massive bonus damage versus him. And then when he goes into vehicle mode, they still do very good damage versus vehicles. Not as much, but still do very good. So there's basically no escaping the fury of the Fire Dragons if you're a Tyrant Guard, other than running the fuck away and throwing Rippers onto the Fire Dragons. But yeah, if Arthur Cloud starts spamming Rippers now, he's going to be in a pretty good situation. Maybe get some Gene Stealers. Well, I think even more important than Gene Stealers would be Venom Brood, actually, to stop these Raveners and Termagants from bleeding so much. And also, they'd be able to put on a lot of pressure to the What Spiders. This is looking like a precarious situation for the TG. It's so slow out of Synapse, and there's no support for it whatsoever. Hormagaunts are going to get wrecked. Like, they're going to die so fast. Yeah, that's a wiped Hormagaunt squad. That was suicidal. But it did buy a little bit of time for the Tyrant Guard. Loveduet should consider using Crackshot here. The global of the What Spider Exact on his Fire Dragons would increase their range and their damage. But I think he's lost line of sight at this point on the Tyrant Guard. He's not sure where it is. He's going to pursue. I mean, Fire Dragons with the Exact, they get that Dragon Breath Flamer as well, so they can melt the generators. Melter damage, it does good damage versus everything, so it will kill gens pretty damn quick too. Now let's see how the Adrenal Gland Warrior Brood do. I was just going to say, they will do a lot better than the Hormagaunts, because they're heavy infantry, so they resist a lot of the piercing damage coming from the Exarch and the normal spiders. Even them, they're friggin' taking a load of damage. No Dragon Armor upgrade on the Fire Dragons, yeah, he's getting it now. That makes them immune to knockback. Obviously that would help them in instances like this, they get disrupted like crazy. Lictor's here, but What Spider Exarch should just be able to teleport out. Ooh! A crazy flank here. Why are the Raveners not forcing melee? This was a beautiful flank. I think everything should have forced melee there. Termagants actually do pretty good melee damage. Termagants in melee do 4 DPS. That is very similar to the damage that Guardsmen do with their las guns. And there's a lot of Termagants. If you meleeed those Fire Dragons, I think they would have been wiped. So a bit of a mistake from Arthur there. But he does win the engagement, and his Tyrant Guard lives. I don't know if he's noticed the webway gate. It should have revealed itself when the warriors were nearby. Now they're retreating. We're going to see some Gene Stealers. Not a bad choice. You know what else could be good right now? Melee Raveners. I think would be really good, actually, to tie up these Fire Dragons. Look at this. Oh, what a brutal engagement. Crackshot is used on the Warp Spiders, so they have got extra range and extra damage. And you see them at the back there, just melting the poor Raveners. Fire Dragons do get forced off, but the Tyrant Guard is really overcommitting. I don't like this. I don't know what he's doing. Now the Fire Dragons just come out and kill the Tyrant Guard, right? No support for him. Synapse is gone. Fire Dragons just need to pursue. Poor Micro from Loveduet should be teleporting his spiders away from the charge, but everyone's looking over here. We got a Lictor Alpha with a Toxic Cyst that increases his max HP and gives him this ability that gives him HP regen and damage over time. Rangers, I mean, there's just Miss Macro everywhere, so Warp Spiders, where did they go? They go back to the base. Tyrant Guard is eventually moved, but the Fire Dragons are going to be able to wipe that Tyrant Guard out. Rangers get wiped by the Gene Stealers here, and the Lictor Alpha is slain by the Banshees. Lictor Alpha really needs Lone Hunter if he wants to take those players where he tries to solo level 2 Banshees on his own. If he did have Lone Hunter, he would definitely be able to do it. Flesh up the Exarch, use your cysts for the damage over time and the regen. Yeah, you definitely beat the Banshees, but you need that Lone Hunter, it's a huge buff. So Alpha's looking a little bit thin here. It seems he lost a Termagant squad as well. Yeah, I remember seeing that. The Termagant squad, he just mismacroed. It got wiped by the Warp Spiders, which to be fair happens a lot quicker than you might expect with a lot of other squads. So he's looking a little bit thin on the ground here. No Rippers from Alpha and an absolute shitload of red. That is definitely a mistake. He needs to be getting Rippers and just throwing them into the Fire Dragons and the Warp Spiders. Obviously Rippers are extremely cheap, only 35 or so requisition. Not a big deal if you're bleeding them. You know, you can lose 10 Rippers, and it's the equivalent of losing a couple of Hormagaunts or Termagants. So, you know, do the maths. Rippers aren't even that much less tanky. Let's have a look at the HP of the Rippers. 875 and 872 on the Termagants at level 3. Wow, so 10 Rippers have the same HP as level 3 Termagants. That is quite incredible. And like I say, 2 Termagants cost the same as 10 Rippers, assuming that you don't have Endless Swarm to make them half the cost. In which case it'd be 4 Termagants for the price of 10 Rippers. So either way, it still works out much better. Now, just sending them in mindlessly on their own is a bit pointless. Not only is it a waste of your Rec and Red as a Tyranid player, but you also are feeding the enemy player a little bit of XP, because Rippers do give them XP. And Red as well, to fuel their globals. And generally Tyranids have the worst globals as well, so it's not a good deal for you to be giving them one red for every 0.75 red that you get. What happened over here? Oh my god, did the Gene Stealers just get wrecked by the Banshees? It appears so, and after you use the Toxic Cyst there a little bit early, you generally want to wait a little bit so that you get the 100 regen, 150 HP regen from it. But maybe he just wanted to try and wipe the Banshees there. I don't know. I feel like every game I cast of Arthur, he dominates in the early game and he does something and somehow manages to throw the game. I mean, he's definitely looking in a dodgy position. I'm a little bit confused as to how the Gene Stealers died. I guess they were busy trying to capture the point or destroy the node rather than actually fighting the Banshees, because I think the Gene Stealers should have won that fight. They have very high melee skill, such that even if the enemy dedicated melee units are leveled up, Gene Stealers will still have way higher melee skill. Gene Stealers have 80 melee skill, so even level 4 Banshees only have 74 melee skill, so they can never proc specials on Gene Stealers, and that's one of the things that makes Gene Stealers so good in melee versus melee fights. They are the ones who always proc the specials. Then you put them in melee Synapse and they go up to 90, just to have even more chance of specialing enemies. And then they heal in melee as well. Like, yeah, I really don't think they should be dying in a 1v1 against Banshees. Don't know. Strange. So right, in this engagement here, you really want to focus fire the warriors. If the Banshees just get on the warriors with that low on HP, they should start popping Synapse models. Gene Stealers are flipping them around. Honestly, kind of amazing that a warrior hasn't died yet. Looks like the Fire Dragons are focusing on the Gene Stealers instead, which is a mistake. These warriors are so low. Okay, but the melee is pursuing the Banshees and not tying up the Fire Dragons. Big mistake from Arthur. What's going on down here? The Warp Spider's taking the garrison. Could see a tower come up, some spawn mines spawned. Unfortunately, it appears that Arthur has not noticed the weather gate near the contested VP either, so that is definitely going to cause him some problems. Yeah. Do get a tower going up on the far side, perhaps that's going to spawn in some spawn mines. Loveduet has somehow managed to take to tier 3. Don't know when that happened. No doubt aided by these two generators here that Arthur built pointlessly earlier on in the game. I always found that very strange, don't know why he did that. And the heavy gauge death filament coming in again, stunning the Lictor and just, you know... Exarch comes in with his fire dragon melter gun thing, what's it called, fusion guns or something? Promptly forces off that Lictor Alpha. Just gonna see more melee from Arthur. I don't know if that's gonna cut it, mate. I don't know if that's gonna cut it. I mean, I kind of assume that Loveduet's gonna get Seer Council in tier 3. Just thinking what else he could get. Fire Prism doesn't seem very useful. It's hard to go with Fire Prism against Nids, you know. It's so fast, can flank and hit you from so many different angles and stuff. It's pretty tough. Spawn mines do come out. These are level 4 Banshees, so yeah, I mean, look at that. They're not bothered, and that's not a spawn mine thing. I know some people have been complaining about spawn mines all the time. That's not a spawn mine thing, that is just a level 4 Banshee thing. Expecting spawn mines to do anything against that is a bit silly. And Gene Stealers, how do you counter them? Well, you shoot the fuckers from ranged. And yeah, they die pretty easily, especially if they're not in Synapse. And indeed, we are going to see Seer Council. Now, in theory, Gene Stealers would be a decent counter to Seer Council. Seer Council certainly will not counter them. The problem that I'm seeing is that the Gene Stealers are going to struggle to stay in melee Synapse without the nearby Synapse creatures getting wrecked. Raveners have gone melee mode, which is pretty cool. I definitely see why he's done that. I think that's a pretty good idea right now. Okay, one of these melee squads needs to really tie up the ranged units that are doing the big DPS, which is not the Warp Spider Exarch. Yeah. Oh my god, how are these warriors not dying? This must be driving Loveduet mad. They just won't die. There you go, finally. Where did the Warp Spiders go? Okay, they went down there. Alright. Ooh, gotta be careful for the Warp Spiders here. Gene Stealers get into engagement just as the Raveners burrow and knock them back, and that is the power of the burrow of Raveners. Nice job. Wiping out the Warp Spiders there. I don't know what Sir means. What's he saying? Probably wanted to retreat them, but again, they just got knocked over, so they won't retreat. It's the knockback bug. Even if they did retreat, it doesn't matter. They died to melee there, though, not ranged. So they would have died anyway, even if you hit retreat. In fact, they would have died quicker. They'd just be taking 30% more melee damage. It's a good play there from Arthur. Good play. And I think he's overwatching Gene Stealers at this point. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe, I mean, I'm just thinking, like, what else can you get? There's not really that much else that is even effective. You definitely don't want Tyrant Guards against Fire Dragons and Seer Council. And level 4 Fleetness Banshees. God, Tyrant Guards would get wrecked. This is a very brave Lictor Alpha. Even with Lone Hunter, I don't think he can take on Seer Council. For this reason, they just flip you around with a knockback. He already used his Cyst up top against the Warp Spider Exarch, which is really quite pointless. The AoE damage is going to be negligible. 10 DPS, 10 seconds I guess it is, around him. Maybe not even that. These Seers are putting in some work, proccing some good specials, but I was just going to say they're very outnumbered here. They need to be super careful. But they're delaying. I don't know who came over and even caught this. Okay, Gene Stealers, that's what did it. But the level 4 Banshees come out of the webway and that's that. This game is going to slowly turn into a VP game at this point. At least Alpha spotted the webway gate over here. That's going to help him out. He's got his towers up, that's giving him a nice mobility advantage. It looks like he's probably going to have to hold these two VPs. And probably easier to hold these two VPs and not worry about this place, because there's garrisons here, and Arthur's rocking a full melee build pretty much at this point, bar these one little cute Termagant squads. So he doesn't really want to deal with garrisons. This is going to be annoying though, dealing with these warp spiders teleporting away as soon as you get into melee. Very annoying. Loveduet should just be spamming crack shot on the warp spiders. He's got an insane amount of red. Utterly insane amount. Seer Council going for the wipe on the Gene Stealers here. Then they need to get onto the Warrior Brood. Pop some of them. Who just got Crippling Talon? Crippling Poison, sorry. Someone did. Not the Seer Council. They would have been the better target. Wait, what's going on? Did we just... I feel like I've seen something wipe. Oh, was that the Gene Stealers that wiped? Okay, pretty good Eldritch, to be honest. Forces off most things, but what's remaining? Only the Fire Dragons. Yeah, there's literally no melee left. Only the Rippers, and unfortunately Rippers can't cap. Oh, Gene Stealers here, idling. Needs to be... Oh no, he's already got the VP. Okay, so Alpha's chilling. It's a 2-2-1 cap for a few seconds. Now a 2-2-0 cap. Now he needs to get some melee over there to deal with this Fire Dragon. The problem for Alpha is he hasn't realised that there's a webway gate here, so these units are coming out very quickly. And with the Warp Spiders here, I don't think these Gene Stealers are going to win this. I don't even know how Gene Stealers will do against level 4 Banshees when they're level 1 themselves. I think that could be a pretty tricky engagement. I'd be kind of curious to test it. Probably come down to Gene Stealer special RNG. Okay, Lictor Alpha forces off the Fire Dragons, but the Seers should be able to force him off fairly easily. Man, this is pretty clutch. Alpha's going to hit tier 3 soon, and he's got absolutely shitloads of red. So we should see a Tyranno formation here. Oh, you know what Alpha could do when he gets tier 3? He could get Menacing Visage and use that ability to force the Seer Council to retreat constantly. Just save the ability just for the Seer Council. Because honestly, without the Seer Council, there's not really that much that can deal with this Tyrannid melee blob right now. I think that's the play Alpha. I think he's got to get his Lictor Alpha back. I mean, that I didn't even comment on it, but that play there to lose Lictor Alpha was quite inexcusable. That was horrendous. I'm guessing he was microing down here. Throwing away Gene Stealers down here. I'm not sure why Loveduet is manually buying Warp Spiders when he could just use the global to call them in instantly for cheaper. Weird. But no, get the Lictor Alpha, get your Menacing Visage, save it all the time, and just use it to force the Seer Councils to retreat every time they get into melee. And honestly, with that and good Tyranno formations, I think this is Alpha's game. He should be able to just hold this VP at the top. There's not really anything else that Loveduet can get, and nothing that Loveduet can get is really going to be that effective against all this shit. We'll see. Come on, Loveduet, you got to make a play, mate. All he has to do is sit up here on this hill, spam Rippers, and he's going to win on VPs. 35 left for Loveduet. He's positioning himself. Very early Tyranno formation from Arthur Cloud. You know what? I don't dislike it. That has bought him time because it's delayed the push, but also these towers are now going to buff the Tyrannid's forces. And if Loveduet spends time destroying every tower individually, he is just delaying himself from capping the VPs. Time is running low, only 22 VPs left for Loveduet. He needs to cap. He doesn't want to be blobbing up like this though. He needs to send his melee through and deal with the Warp Spiders. An attempted Eldritch Snipe. Ooh, that Eldritch does a lot of damage, surprisingly. Might want to see a without number from Alpha Cloud now. Should have the requisition to do so. Looks like Alpha Cloud is kind of capitulating with his micro. I don't know what these Gene Stealers and Lictor Alpha are doing. They're running through, but they're not fighting. Rippers should be getting onto the Warp Spiders here. Gene Stealers can get in melee. What is there? This is the Banshees. The Banshees are on the decap. Everything else is fighting. There were Gene Stealers over here with the Lictor, right? I think the Seer Council have already ripped them to pieces. Lictor Alpha needs to use his Toxic Cyst and something, anything needs to get onto the Banshees. An alternative play would be to build a tower here to get vision, use without number to summon some Hormagaunts and Termagants to take the VP on the far side. But I don't think it's going to happen. The Banshees are going to press forward, take the VP, and with 6 VPs left, it looks like Alpha Cloud has thrown the game once again. The King of Throws, Arthur, the absolute King of Throws. The pressure was on with the big engagement there in the finale, and I'm afraid that was a poor performance. Really mismicroed his melee units, running them through, not hitting the priority targets, not tying up the Warp Spiders soon enough, and just not doing what needed to be done. An unfortunate display, because honestly that was Arthur's game there. He played really well for most of that. But there you go, that's our sloppy Saturdays. Hope you enjoyed, folks. Leave a like, leave a comment if you did enjoy. Let's get some more views, let's get more people finding out about this content. If you want exclusive casts, then you can find them on Patreon. You pay for 1 month, you get access to all of my historic exclusive casts on there. Thank you for tuning in, folks. It's your boy Torpid signing out.